Okay, let's move on. Now we have Gilad Atzmon with us. Gilad, welcome to the program.
I'm delighted to be with you once again.
Okay, so Gilad, you were supposed to be performing at the Vienna Jazz Festival, but that apparently is not going to happen.
No, it didn't happen. I was supposed to play with the World Peace Trio, with Jordanian, Palestinian oud player, and the ambassador of Indonesian music, Wicked Darmawan on piano, and Kamal Musalem on the oud. And a few days before the festival, we learned from the head of the festival, Fritz Storm, that he was approached by the city council, by the mayor office, or the biggest funders of the festival, and I had to be removed for the program. I approached the festival through a lawyer, and they made it very clear to them that unless they present the reasoning, because my record is 100% clean. I've never been accused by any law enforcement authority of, I've never been questioned about anything I've written or said. And I'm teaching in Germany and in Austria. Once he realized that he gets into trouble and he has to justify his act, he just removed the band. And the argument was that we didn't sell enough tickets. We checked with the venue, and the venues told us that the gig was destined to sell out. So we did sell tickets. What is fascinating here is that we start to see more and more proxy mercenaries that are operating for the Israeli lobby, for the Zionist lobby, for the Jewish lobby. This is one case, the mayor of Vienna or his office, I don't know exactly. But we saw exactly a similar situation a few days ago in Miami. The mayor of Miami banned kids from performing with Roger Waters. Once again, Roger Waters is a supporter of Palestine. He criticized Israeli apartheid and so on and so on. And it was a mayor of Miami that was used to inflict a penalty on him. And what happened with me in Vienna, instead of doing a concert that was a completely peaceful and non-political event, I ended up giving a talk in the Austrian Arabic Institute about my views, about my politics, about Israel, about some aspect of Jewish power that I found dangerous. So the attempt to silence me backfired, but we are really getting now to a point where freedom of speech is a nostalgic adventure. It is wiped out.
Absolutely. Any thoughts?
Well, I think we are seeing this coming in everywhere. In a moment, we're going to be talking about Grenfell Tower, the fire, and subsequent events around that fire. But of course, one of the things that local people are talking about is if they say the wrong things, they're being silenced. So,
by the way, this is very interesting, because one of the reasons to expel me from the festival is what I said about Grenfell Tower. And what I said is very similar to actually what David Scott is saying. I argue that the regulation, we become hostages of regulation. Now, I define this culture of regulations and commandments as Jerusalem. I argue that this is exactly the difference between Jerusalem and Athens. We probably will talk about it later today with David. But the whole issue of Jerusalem is, in Jerusalem we have commandments, we have rules to follow. They tell us what cladding we are putting, and if we are putting everything the right cladding, everything is kosher, regardless of the fact that they are flammable. Athens is where we think. So I blamed Grenfell disaster on Jerusalem culture that is now beyond dominant in our society. And I guess, and by the way, I don't say that Jerusalem is Judaism. The church can be Jerusalemite. Tony Blair is a Jerusalemite. Theresa May is a Jerusalemite. Trump is definitely a Jerusalemite, and so on and so on. But some Jews, I guess, were offended by what I said, and I think that it's very important to point at it.
Yeah. Okay. Look, Gilad, thank you very much. And as you mentioned, there you are going to be doing something later with David Scott. We're going to pre-record that and put that out very shortly. So thank you, Gilad, for joining us. And it brings us very nicely into Grenfell Tower, and